All right, folks. Hi, Dr. E. I'm here with your week 3 instructional video. You should watch the supplemental video first because I go over some details that I think are important, and I'm kind of continuing on here with some of those ideas. But we'll talk a little bit about Irvin's article and then move into what the expectations and guidelines are for your work this week. Okay. So I'm going to jump right to it. I'm already in D2L because we were looking through this Care for Completion page, right? So that's again in the academic support. And what I'll do after I upload this video and get all that taken care of, I'll make a specific link to Care for Completion because I think it might be more easier to navigate if it's more direct. So I'll put it in student success, and I'll probably just put it like right here. Okay, but you have all these links again that are there for you. Information for Michael, our wonderful tutor who is excited, happy, welcomes you to make an appointment with him. Okay, so what I want to do first is talk about Irvin's article. So I'm going up to the book and additional readings module here. And remember, this is where we access our book or anything outside of our course text, right? So any of these. So I'm going to open Irvin's article in the reader here, and you can adjust the size. I'm just going to make the font a little bit bigger. Okay, so if we scroll down, I think Irvin does a really good job, and I mean, that's his goal, right? His thesis is that, academic writing feels like this very kind of overwhelming, amorphous, it seems like this whole big thing that we don't have specifics on. We don't, it's just, it's undefinable, it's indefinable, right? So what he works to do is kind of break it down for us in an approachable way. But in order to do that, we have to kind of get rid of some of those myths that we are holding on to because we were taught these things, which is kind of frustrating, right? We spend so much of our time learning these things about writing, and now I'm asking you, and Irvin's asking you to just kind of throw them away. We know it's not gonna happen instantly, right? But we have to actively work on not editing ourselves based on these myths. We have to actively work on not allowing those myths to continue on, right, as we start writing through the course. I really want to emphasize, and I should have mentioned this in the previous video, our goal in the course is not about the finished product, right? It's not about having a finished product that is perfect, that is free of errors, that is beautiful in every way. That can't be our goal because that is unattainable, right? There are people who have published books who would love to go back in and make adjustments and edits and updates. We're never finished with our writing because we are constantly changing, which means our ideas and the way we would phrase things are constantly changing, right? And all of the people who write these books that we respect, that we enjoy reading, that get awards, or, those people pay a lot of money to editors who go in and edit their work and are a fresh set of eyes on their work, because the authors themselves, they do not have to be seeking perfection, and they can't, right? And again, even when it's published, it's not perfect. What I want us to focus on with our semester is the process of writing, is the work that we are putting into our writing and the work we are putting into revising our work before submitting it. I know in college, sometimes we're working on things right at the last minute, but in our class, we are going to kind of build on writing, and we'll see that with our food journal this week. So I'll get into more of this, but I really want to emphasize it's process over product. The process of writing, revising, editing over the finished product being some sort of perfect, that's grammatically excellent or whatever. I don't have time for that, neither do you. Okay, so his myths, the paint by numbers myth. This is a really easy one to understand because a lot of times we are taught to write in a very particular way. This paragraph is about this paragraph is about this, right? And yeah, you may have assignments that are like that, but not every assignment is going to be like that. Not every professor is going to give you those kinds of steps that you need to follow. Writing is something that changes with the assignment, right? So just something to keep in mind. Additionally, writers only start writing when they have everything figured out. This is one I get a lot because I have some students who are perhaps perfectionists, who are mindful of some sort of idea of perfection. So they're constantly editing and revising in their mind, and they never settle on anything, so they never sit down and actually get it out. Just start writing. So much of the research and composition studies is about just getting it out on the page, and then you go back and revise and edit and work through those ideas. It's going to start out messy. It should start out messy, and that's why we go back in and rework it. Okay. Perfect first drafts. I don't even want to get too far into this because there's no such thing. If you think that you write perfect first drafts, and even if you get wonderful grades, there's no such thing. So putting that kind of expectation on yourself is just, it's a fool's errand, right? Make it messy and work through it. It's less work and less stress on yourself. Okay. Some got it, I don't, the genius fallacy. Oh, this one is so damaging. Some people may seem like they have it, but what they probably have is just a little bit more experience writing. They may have gone to schools where they had teachers who were pushing them to write a lot more, who were encouraging them in different ways. But some of us may have gone to schools or have backgrounds, that are in the distance because we may be coming back from a while. Or we have come from, different writing experiences where we weren't asked to write very much, or we weren't given any positivity or support for our writing. It's about practice, and that's what we're doing in this class. So this isn't one of those, some people are just born with the ability to write. No, no. Let's get rid of that idea. Good grammar is good writing. No. Yes, we need good grammar to effectively communicate our ideas, but that's what editing is for. That is what is going to tutoring, visiting with Michael and getting his input if you have fears about grammar. You don't have to be perfect. We have tools. We have Grammarly that can help. We have Microsoft Word's grammar check. It's not perfect, but those are tools that can help, right? ChatGPT, AI of any kind, that's not help, right? That's a format that is essentially trying to think for you, and it cannot think for you, right? There are going to be times when I may ask you to use AI for particular things, right? But you should not be so fearful of writing and so fearful of sharing that writing that you are pushed to utilize that. Trust yourself, right? This is one of those things where the grammar is important, but it's later down the road when we start to revise and edit. And I don't expect you to be perfect. The 5-paragraph essay, it works in some ways. It works for some assignments. Some of our assignments it will work for, but others it will not. If you have a 10-page history paper, you're going to need more than 5 paragraphs, right? So let's get that out. Yeah, start with 5 paragraphs, but then you can expand out in the middle, in that body, right? And then never use I. That's the last. You may be in class, like your history professor may not want you to write in first person. I mean, you weren't there, right, during the Revolutionary War. But in our class, I'm asking you to write with the first person. And there are going to be times when it's useful, it's helpful. So let's just start removing these myths from our mind. He says so much other good stuff, but I'm running out of time, and I really just wanted to hit those important elements because, again, we got to get rid of those myths because they're holding us back. Okay. Stand by. I have week 3 and it's not visible. Okay. All right. So this is the week 3 module, right? So we're in the table of contents in the content area. I'm scrolling down to week 3. For this week, we have a chapter entitled Language, Power, and Rhetoric, which is, I think, just a really important chapter on just the overall power of language. We live in a time when language is used in a lot of ways. Good and bad. So I think it's a really important chapter. And we're also going to watch a TED Talk by Ron Finley, which is a guerrilla gardener in South Central LA, which is a wonderful TED Talk. Folks usually enjoy it. He uses some adult language in places, but we're adults. Okay. So you're watching the videos and all of that. I'm going to scroll down. Q&A discussion board. I'm still loading the supplemental video, and you're watching what will be number 2, the weekly video. there is a link here for the Food Journal guidelines. You will have this video which goes over the guidelines, but if you want your own copy of the guidelines, they're right here. This is a link on changing your preferred name in D2L. Some of you have names that you prefer that are not the names that you have in D2L, right? So you can go and change that. It's not going to change your government name in our whole system as a college. It's just in D2L, right? So that when people see, it just makes it easier for everyone to think of you as that person with that name. Same with the pronouns, right? So when we get to discussions, I want you to remember to, when you start your thread, put your name. Don't worry about this. This is just for me. Put your name, and if you want to share your pronouns, then do so here. Okay. But the week 3 discussion is going to be based on the language, power, and rhetoric chapter. You want 2 to 3 paragraphs in response, and you can credit Lunsford for any quotes. So I'm not going to read it. I just want you to take some time to look through it. And if you want to look at the rubric, you know, how things are graded, then you can do so there. I want to spend some time on the food journal assignment, right? Because we submitted our, our comfort meal. That was our last food journal, but now it's about, okay, what do we do with it? So I'm going to hit this again. It's process over product, right? So part of our process is going back and being our own editors and our own revisers, right? So that's what we're doing with our work. We're going to take that first submission and revise it. If you didn't submit that work, then you need to write it now, right? You're going to have to go back and kind of back work. We need to look at our own writing with fresh eyes. So in addition to revising what you previously submitted, yes, you are essentially taking the document you submitted last time and adding to it, right? Or copying and pasting into a new document. You're then editing what you submitted last time with those fresh eyes. So in addition to revising what you submitted, being your own proofreader and critic, you need to add at least one paragraph that brings Ron Finley's TED Talk into the conversation, right? So how might your previous meal or your food habits relate to Finley's ideas about gardening, fresh foods, creating community, anything? So here are the guidelines, right? 2 to 3 paragraphs, that's previous work, right? And I put last week's journal prompt here in case you didn't submit it or whatever the case may be. 1 paragraph bringing in Finley's ideas, okay? You need to credit his ideas. You will not need a works cited because I am assigning this. I know where you're getting your work. You need to properly cite Finley in your paragraphs with at least 1 quote, okay? And see below. And follow MLA guidelines, upload your document in the right format, da-da-da. So after last week's journal prompt, this is an example of how to quote using MLA guidelines. This is the timestamp. I'm going to pause for just one. This is the link to Finley's TED Talk, right? So we can see it here. And I want you to note this read transcript because what this does is then expands the work so that you can see word for word, right? And you can find a quote that may be suitable to fit your needs. But you need to tell us what time he says, whatever he says. So there are timestamps here. If my computer were working, you could click it and it would go to that area. So I just want you to mention the time that he starts saying something because MLA really wants you to say he starts at 1 minute 8 seconds and ends this statement at 1 minute 12 seconds. Just do 1 minute 8 seconds, right? Okay, I'm not going to go into, I'll talk about AI and stuff later. I'm just not going to get into it right now. Okay, so that's Finley's TED Talk, and that's what you're going to then bring into conversation with what you're submitting in that food journal in addition to information about your comfort meal, okay? Then you have the week 3 quiz and then the checklist, right? Remember that checklist is just something there to serve as a kind of way to help you keep track, right, of where you've gone, what you've done, what you've looked at, etc. Just checking it doesn't do anything, right? It just helps ease your mind. Okay, I think I've gone over, oh, the random word for this week's quiz is printer. So remember there are quiz questions in pretty much every video, so stay tuned, pay attention. Let me know what you need this week. Help is close by, okay? Good luck.